On August 1st, 2007, right in the middle of rush hour, the Interstate 35 bridge over the Missouri River, just outside of Minneapolis, Minnesota, failed. It collapsed, sending 13 people to their deaths and 145 more that were injured. The bridge itself was designed to specifications written in 1961 and was actually engineered in 1964. Construction wasn't finished until 1967, and this bridge had been inspected annually and was not ever flagged for a risk of failure. The National Transportation Safety Board investigated the collapse and ended up finding out that the failure was caused by gusset plates that were under-engineered, were way thinner than they should have been. This could have been due to a miscalculation. It could have been done to substandard engineering practices, or possibly due to the designers not foreseeing the amount of traffic that would be going over it 40 years later. But this is a chilling example of why we need to force our legislatures to pay attention and spend money on our aging infrastructure. In 2013, the American Society of Civil Engineers gave the nation a report card on its infrastructure and overall gave it a grade of D+. Now that includes everything from bridges and roads to dams and all utilities. Bridges got a D+, and dams got a D. And this means, and I quote from the ASCE, the infrastructure is in poor to fair condition and mostly below standard, with many elements approaching the end of their service life. A large portion of the system exhibits significant deterioration. Condition and capacity are of significant concern with strong risk of failure. That's pretty scary. And why is this important? Well, our infrastructure is what allows our economy to operate. It's what gets our goods from coast to coast, in and out of cities. It includes our power grid, which many of the components in our power grid were built as far back as the 1880s and still in use today. It's only getting older. According to the ASCE, one of every 9 bridges are structurally deficient. And 200 million trips are taken across these bridges every year. That's a great increase. That's a great risk. And odds are they're going to fail. From 1980 to 2009, 31 bridges collapsed. That's one every 8 months. Just from 2010 to 2012, 27 bridges failed. That's one per month in the U.S. alone. The average age of our bridges is 42 years old. It's pretty obvious that our engineering standards are higher today. We have a better understanding of the way structural components work, and it's very much worth it to have a look-see into our bridges. If you look at New York City alone, there's 2,000 bridges in New York City and tunnels, bridges and tunnels. In New York City, being the economic capital of the United States, if they were to have a bridge failure, it would be catastrophic for the whole country. Not just the lives lost, but the economic implications are dire as well. The next thing we get onto is our dams. There's about 75,000 dams in operation in the United States right now. According to the American Society of Civil Engineers, they average 52 years old. And according to FEMA, over 2,000 are at high risk of failure. And if you look, they're all around our major metropolitan areas: Seattle, San Francisco, LA, and San Diego. Look at New York City alone, it's surrounded by them. This not to mention that the fault lines underneath, due to our tectonic plates, that run under dams that were unknown at the time of building. Here in Boise alone, Lucky Peak is built right over a fault that is at risk of creating an earthquake. If Lucky Peak Dam was to blow, downtown Boise is gone, basically. And that includes all the lives lost and any economic implications. Plus our dams are what, especially here in the Northwest, are what provide power to almost the entire Northwest. It's all hydroelectric. If any of these dams, which a lot of them were built back in the 40s and 50s, if they were to fail, there would be major implications. So, in conclusion, our bridges and dams need attention paid to them. Many of them need rebuilt, but just maintenance alone would be a huge thing. According to the Federal Highway Administration, $20.5 billion a year needs to be spent on our bridges, just the bridges alone, to make them up to par to be in a semi-moderate safety standard by 2028. And currently, we only have $12 billion being spent on infrastructure as a whole. So therefore, due to this high risk, we need more civil engineers, more people to study and become civil engineers, and we need a loud voice to convince our legislators and our government officials that our infrastructure needs to be a priority. This will help our nation progress into the future. So call your congressman. Thank you guys very much.
Boring.